Today we have a great person, Javier Cuate Mendoza, who's running for City Council District
6.
And we're going to be touching base a little bit about his ideas, what's going on with the city, and how we're going to move things forward. On another note, we were going to have our county judge come in today, and our condolences to his family. He could not make it, and prayers to you all. And today we're trying a little bit something different. When you see a picture up there of a sandwich, it's going to be compliments of us with the rib cage, and be the caller in here, and you get a free lunch on us. So let's move on. How are we doing, Javi?
Pretty good. And yourself?
Good. Tell me, what's going on? How come you decided to throw your name in the hat again?
Well, I moved back into the district, so that's one. I was gerrymandered after the first time I ran in 2010. So, I bought a house, and now we're back in District 6. And I had applied also for a position with the city. And so then I had some ideas for that position, and I said, let me use those for...
What position was that?
For the Director of Parks and Leisure.
Okay, and how's that coming along?
Well, I was told I was not qualified, so that never happened out. No interview, no nothing. So, but I mean, I they said everything was fair, so I believe them. But the ideas that I have or had for that position, I decided let's go ahead and maybe offer them as a council member instead of Director of Parks and Leisure.
Yeah, there's a lot of things with the Department of Parks and Leisure. We have great parks. I think somebody was mentioning we have over 100 parks.
Yes.
And rec centers and so on and so forth. And it seems to be not managed properly. It seems to be that you have a lot of empty space, a lot of empty time frames. People are not using it sufficiently, but yet they claim they're magnificent centers. They're all beautiful. And I think it's just a waste of money.
And that's one of the reasons why I'm running. I've seen a lot of these events, and there's really no, how can I put it, publications, or there's no real awareness of many of these events. And I know there's other groups that are like Main Street Laredo. They're doing stuff. I know Facebook is helping them out and trying to get awareness out.
Right.
But one of the things that I was wanting to do as the Director of Parks and Leisure would be to start like a quarterly letter in conjunction with Facebook, but to promote the events that happen annually. There's several events that happen every year. For example, the Kite Festival in my district. But a lot of people don't really know. But what I want to do is try to take away the politics away from these events and make them more to where they can be sponsored by corporate sponsors. And instead of you always seeing the face of the council member for that district, you see other politicos involved in that sponsorship. So a lot of corporations don't want to get involved. A lot of small businesses don't want to get involved because they see a lot of these politicians on there.
It's more, you're exactly right. You see all these events, it's more like, I'm the politician, I'm bringing this forward, vote for me. It's kind of like the vote for free turkey, vote for me kind of deal that goes on. Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing.
I've been to the Kite Festival, and I've seen the political signs there. I mean, they removed for city council, but you see the same political sign that they used when they ran, and they have it plastered throughout the festival. I haven't been there in a couple of years, so I don't know if they're still doing that, but that's what a lot of people are turned off by, because they don't want to go there if it's going to be a campaign event. And that was one of the things, is I want to move Parks and Leisure away from the politics of these beautiful parks and centers, and concentrate on promoting the community, so that way that our families can enjoy them. I mean, a lot of these parks are started with funds, and it seems like every council member wants to do something, so they start their own little project, and they never have enough funds because they're not working with each other. They have their discretionary funds, and that's only limited. And so you have a project like North Central Park that was started by Councilman Belmares, and in conjunction with Commissioner Velasquez. And the problem is that we still don't have a lot of things. I mean, that park is beautiful. Sure. And you don't see signage, you don't see rules, you don't see mile markers, we don't have enough parking. When I ran in 2010, I proposed an indoor pool. I wanted a pool that would be, protects us from the sun. And I had, I ran on that. That was one of that was on my platform. Unfortunately, I did not win, and we have the pool that we have now. And unfortunately, it was named before it was built. And that's the type of leadership that I want to stay away from. That's the reason I'm running again. I want to give solutions. I just don't want to complain. I don't want to be the type of person that's just, we shouldn't do this and we shouldn't be doing that. And okay, but we need to offer something. My idea was to do an indoor pool because most people in District 6, I wouldn't say most, but we have a lot of families that already have a pool in their backyards.
Sure.
But they don't have shaded pools. And back then, the problem was that we have swimming teams, and there's not enough pools, especially for the teams for these schools,
Sure.
to use, to practice, and an indoor facility would benefit them greatly. And that was one of the reasons I had promoted that as when I ran for the first time. But I'm not promoting that this time because obviously that was not something that people wanted when I ran. So I'm focusing on two things on this campaign. One is to create a task force. My main priority is education, and what I want to do is create a task force comprised of college students. And we're going to tackle the main issue we're going to first tackle is helping veterans.
Okay.
One issue is that veterans here in this community have been applying to the city of Laredo, and the majority, if not 95%, 98% get rejected. They don't get hired, and so our veterans need help.
Oh, that's a definite. But why would you say they're not getting hired? What's the problem that's going on in Laredo? Do we still have that cronyism?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, we don't want...
Do we still have that, hire my
Does
nephew?
it still exist? Yes, it still exists. I do not know to what degree. I mean, but I still want to say that happens in every community.
Sure.
It's just not Laredo. So I want to do something with this task force. I want to work with a master's program at TAMU, maybe some other degrees, bachelor's degrees, with students that are needing help, but they have good ideas, and I want to showcase the talent that we have here, especially because usually we have a lot of college kids, they graduate from here, but they have to move out of town because the jobs are out of town. And so I want to give them a better opportunity when they do leave. If they do leave, not only do they have the education, they'll have the experience. So basically what I want to do is this task force is going to help me solve some issues. And the main issue that I want to start off with, if I'm fortunate enough to be elected, is to convert a rec center. Like we were talking about these beautiful parks and rec centers, the operations and maintenance for these facilities is costing the city of Laredo millions of dollars to operate. The operations and maintenance, I think it was about $15 million annually that we're spending. Yet the city collects very little money on fees for these facilities, and we don't collect fees on parks. So what I want to do is, I don't know if people have ever heard of the YMCA. This is a nonprofit organization that runs these types of facilities, the rec centers, and they can raise money, and it's tax deductible. Mm-hmm. So what I want to do is, with these students, get some of these bright students. I'm not going to choose them. I don't want to be political. I would create a selection process with the professors and with the college to see, okay, these are the students that they're going to recommend, and that will comprise the task force. They're going to, for example, with the veterans, I want a rec center to be taken over by a nonprofit organization that's a veteran-based, so that the jobs that are held in this rec center are either going to be by veterans or their spouse. There was a report that just came out that said that the spouses for veterans are having a difficult time finding jobs. And so this is going to solve two issues. It's going to help the general fund. We're burdening the taxpayers too much with these facilities. And at the same time, we're going to help veterans by providing them with jobs. Mm-hmm. They can get training. They can get whatever help they can in this rec center. I know that I think there's going to be a new rec center being built at the Coves of Winfield with that development. That's my understanding. I don't know if it's going to happen. And so maybe that would be a good rec center for this organization to take over. And, the task force will tackle issues. I can tell one of the college students, you know what, go to the city, find out the budget. Find out, what it costs what would be the transition that we would need in order for us to take over this facility. Another one can go and find out, talk to veterans, say, okay, what is the, how many veterans are looking for jobs, are actively looking for jobs, or how many veterans here do we have, or active military whose spouses, live here in Laredo and would need a job. We can tailor a lot of these jobs based on those needs. We don't need full-time, all these full-time jobs, but we can offer part-time jobs with benefits. Mm-hmm. And this nonprofit can fundraise. Another student can look at ways on how to fundraise for this nonprofit. I mean, there's so many things to tackle, and this task force would do that. The mayor of San Antonio, the former mayor of San Antonio, Mayor Castro, he created a task force to look into the pre-K, to creating pre-K schools in San Antonio. He understood education is real important. And so he asked community leaders, I think one of them was Charles Butt from HEB, and some other business leaders to look into that. And they started that. They didn't ask the city council, they didn't ask city staff, hey, we want you to do this. And that's always happening here in Laredo. So this task force is going to help me to say, you know what, we have this issue. I want this, my task force will tackle it. So once we do our research, once we do the studies, whatever we need to do, the task force, these college students will go in front of city council and present their ideas, this is what we're going to do in order to accomplish this idea. And that way we can move. We'll take the politics away. I mean, just look at the Veterans Museum.
Yeah.
How many years has it been?
And they still haven't done anything with it.
And they won't. I mean, just, what was it, a month or two ago, there was a council member and a commissioner. They got together and they said, you know what, we're going to see what we can do to try to get the museum off the ground. I went to the meeting, to the presentation. But it was just a presentation on saying, this is what you guys need to do. But not one political official has said, you know what, I'm going to take charge. We have some that say, okay, we want it here, or we want it there. And it's just like, okay, but we still need to start from we need to start from the ground. How can we be deciding, okay, we want to move it here, we want to move it there, if we still don't have an organization that's going to run it? Okay, we still don't have the ideas. Are they going to charge fees? Is there going to be a gift shop?
Yeah.
What is it how big is this going to be? Where are the funds to operate it going to come from?
No, you're absolutely correct.
And so there's a lot of questions that need answering. And so,
is it going to be a city museum, or is it going to be
county or nonprofit or
right?
a museum?
So there's a lot of questions out there that need to be answered.
And that's where politics comes in. That's why this task force, I'm not going to choose the students, because then people are going to say, well, you know what, you're choosing that person because they supported you. No, all I want is the best students, and the only one that's going to be able to determine who are the best students with the best ideas are the professors. So that's why I'm gonna stay away from that. I'm gonna run the task force and guide them and help them in making sure that they do what's to focus on that idea. And that's what I want. Because imagine we have a rec center. Imagine, Paul, we have a rec center that's just exactly like a YMCA, but instead it's operated by veterans. And every person that's working in that rec center is either a veteran or the spouse of a veteran or spouse of an active military member. Imagine how great that would be.
We have to give back to our veterans, and we haven't.
We haven't done so at all.
And we haven't. And every community, to a large percentage, has failed. And we need to step up, and we need to, I've seen all these ideas here in Laredo. Bike lanes, green parks, protect this, protect that, protect this. But yet I've yet to see somebody come up and say, you know what, let's take drugs off that neighborhood. You know what, let's clean up that neighborhood over there and remove all the drug dealers and pushers. Not a one. Everything else sounds fine and dandy. But we really have to start cleaning up Laredo as it is.
No, I agree.
Understand what I'm saying? So we need to start building and designing what's really needed. No drugs, help the veterans, homeless. Those are what we need to tackle. Jobs for our kids. Okay, bike lanes and bamboo fields
or golf courses,
and all that is fine and dandy.
stadiums.
All that is fine and dandy. But let's get back to the meat of the subject matter.
Yeah.
the people here in Laredo.
And that's why I'm focusing on education. Not only education in terms of, our better schools. I'm talking about educating the public on what city services, on what the city offers, what the county offers, so that way people don't have to think that everything is political. I want to educate people. And so when someone is trying to be political, they already know, they're educated on the issues. I also want to make sure that our students are educated. They're coming out of college with good degrees, with at least some experience, and that task force will help that. That's why I'm promoting that. Education is going to bring business to Laredo. The golf course hasn't brought any companies. Convention centers are not going to bring business to Laredo. The baseball stadium hasn't brought any business to Laredo. The arena hasn't brought any business to Laredo. And yet now they're talking about the 4A, 4B tax to try to bring more business to Laredo. But business is not going to come to Laredo if the workforce is not educated. Education, one of the main things a business will move to a location, is that they know that they have an educated workforce, a trained workforce. And that's what we need. We need to focus on that. We need to start at the beginning. And a lot of times we have politicians that say, well, we want to start at the end so they can get credit. Okay. Well, we start at the end, like building a stadium or building this golf course. What was the main reason that this golf course was built? They said because businesses will not come here if there's no quality of life. Okay.
So a golf course is a quality of life.
So a golf course would be a quality of life for these executives and, for the upper management that would use the golf course. Mm-hmm. Okay, so how long have we had this golf course? And it's costing the city a lot of money.
No, of course.
I think we're paying an out-of-town company, $700,000 just to manage it? That's not including the maintenance and the operations of it. So we're spending all this money. Okay, what business have we been able to get?
What business has come down because of the result of that?
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's the difference between what I'm offering and what other people are offering. I want to start at the beginning. I want to start because when you learn to walk, you start by crawling.
Sure.
You're not going to start running. I've never met a baby that started running before they started crawling
or walking.
And that's what I want to do. I want to focus on doing things right. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm proposing. That's why my main priority is education. I think no matter in what sense of the word you use it, education always improves our community.
And we have great schools.
We have great schools. I mean, we
have great schools, and we're just losing our kids going out. Once they come out of college mm-hmm. or high school, they're gone. Yeah, they're not staying here.
No, and I don't blame them. But what I want to do is make sure that at least we improve. Let's say TAMU and LCC, mm-hmm. because what I want is for these students to not only have the education but the experience with the task force, that they'll work on a good project, and let's say these students work on the project to create this rec center that will be operated by a nonprofit veteran-based organization that they can put on their resume, and they say, you know what, when they go apply, or maybe they go for their PhD and they're going to go out of town for to a more prestigious college, and they can say they put that on their resume, on their application, and then these people are going to say, you know what, you did that happened in Laredo? Are you telling me that in a border town of Laredo they're helping veterans out that way? Yeah. And then they'll put us more on the map. And then they'll go apply for a good position and for a good Fortune 500 company, and they're going to say, hey, you know what, you did that. And they're going to look up and see where's Laredo. Yeah. That's how we start to improve Laredo. We start with education. We start by our students coming up with ideas. Mm-hmm. Look at Mayor Castro in San Antonio with the pre-K schools. Education is important. And not only with that, we have social media, Paul. We can educate more and more.
See, and I see a lot of things that are going on. And I see a lot of great ideas coming forward, and I see great people coming up and trying to step up in there. But yet we still have the lack of voter interest. You've been involved in politics for a very long time. What and why? Where do we go wrong to lose our voters? What's going on?
Let me give you an example. Mm-hmm. I had applied for director of maintenance for the county. Okay. And they gave the position to a kid with no qualifications for maintenance. He was an assistant to some department in the city of Laredo.
Okay.
Okay, so he had no experience whatsoever.
Why did he get hired under what happened?
I mean, it was between me and another lady who worked for the school district, for one of the school districts in the Department of Maintenance.
Right.
But yet they chose this young kid because of his connections, of who his uncle was. And because who his uncle had donated a lot of money to several people. And so people see that. You know, people see when there's... And that's a sad thing, because we have a lot of these politicians who say, well, I'm going to help you out. You know, I care for Laredo. I want the best for Laredo. But then they get elected, and then they hire kids like, they hire this person. And they see that, and they're like, well, isn't he supposed to be helping Laredo? Wasn't he going to do right for Laredo? Was he going to do right for the Webb County? So what's going on? So a lot of people see that. So when they say, you know what, I thought that person was a good person. Well, I thought that person was a good Christian, and look what he's doing.
Yeah.
And then people get turned off. They say, what's the point of voting?
I've been hearing that for the last probably 3 voting sessions.
And people get discouraged.
And when I saw everybody stand up and really rally was for that jail.
Yes.
They were against it, and everybody stood up and came out.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden we had the elections in March, this past March, and everything went back down. And then the runoffs. People tell you, Paul, I'm not voting. It's the same people. It's the same thing over and over. It's the same shenanigans. And everybody has this, there's fraud. Where's fraud? You know, and I salute both the senator and our county judge for standing up and going after this apparent fraud that's out there. Finally, they said, okay, we have something that's going on, let's investigate. And thumbs up, you know, they're doing a great job on that. And, but how many years has it been that this has been going on?
Well, the good thing is with social media, people are starting to realize, hey, we can start calling these people out.
Yeah.
You know, that's what's happening. And that's why with social media, with Facebook, I've gotten a lot of messages, you know, saying, hey, so how are you going to do this? Or one of the other questions that I get is, what are you? You know, or what political party? And I'm like, well, this is a nonpartisan election. You know, I'm hoping people stick to ideas and not attacks. You know, I know that there's 11 of us so far. You know, and so far, I think everybody's qualified. I think everybody would make a good council member. And so if we stick to ideas and if we use social media, people, I think, are going to start getting encouraged more. And I think more people will vote. But going back to what you were saying, you know, about the tax issues, and I think the reason the jail was voted down was because people are tired of their property taxes. Their appraisals go high every year. I'm protesting mine. My meeting is Thursday. I have my meeting at 6 p.m. To protest the valuation that they placed on my home. I mean, and I told them, you know what? I sent them the appraisal because they're like, okay, well, you just bought, because I bought the house in December. And so I had it appraised, you know, obviously when you buy a house, it has to go through appraisal. Sure. So I go, well, I want to use the cost approach, you know. And that made the media not too long ago, because there's a realtor that is using the cost approach method valuation for his commercial property. And that's why he hasn't seen an increase in, I think, 8 years. So then I said, okay, well, the cost approach on my appraisal is $271.
Sure.
So I want to use that one. Okay. So, but because it was because the appraisal, obviously, if it's lower than the asking price, the bank will turn down the loan.
Sure.
Or you're going to have to put a lot more up front.
Right.
So then he had to use the comp appraisal method. Mm-hmm. And so it came at $315. So then I had sent this appraisal to the appraisal, and they're like, well, you know, your appraisal said it was $315, so we're gonna even raise it even more. Our recommended appraisal is $297. I'm like, are you crazy?
$297 or $397?
No, $297,000. The praise, it was appraised privately at $315.
Okay.
But they had first told me it was $283, and I was protesting that. As there's just no way it's worth $283. Not them. If they had increased the land, okay, I'll give you that, but not the home, because it has. I don't think it's ever been remodeled since it was built in 1986. Okay. And so I sent her the appraisal, and so she's like, okay, well now it says 315, so we're gonna increase it. I'm like, are you out of your mind? It says there clearly the cost approach is the realistic method. It's the way it should be, because it needs a lot of repairs. The home, we can't use it. We got to use the other method. So my question is, when I go Thursday, it's like, why does this person who sits on the appraisal board get to use the cost approach, and me as a property tax paying, family owner, family home, I'm not allowed to do that, and you're going to even increase it even more? I mean, that's ridiculous, and that's why people are angry. That's why people voted down the jail. Because if they're not responsible with our money, why are we going to believe that they're going to be responsible with building a new jail?
Of course.
And that's what I'm talking about. So God knows what's going to happen on Thursday. But I have my proof, and I told the appraiser, I told her, hey, why did you send me comps that the county has appraised at 258? And the other one was, I think, was 254, and you're appraising my house at 283. And she's like, I never sent you any at 250s, in the $250,000. And I'm like, well, okay. And I go, okay, well, you know that these houses have been remodeled. They've been fully remodeled. Well, she sends me an email back. She's like, no, there is no permit for those comps. Okay, thank you. And I'm going to use that against them. I went to Realtor.com, minor investigation, looked up the properties, made copies. When it had sold the year before, it said fully remodeled, and the house sold for $285. And it was a smaller lot, but it was just a little bit smaller,
Sure.
but it was comparable to mine, same age and everything. How come? And their house has been fully remodeled from the inside. The only thing that they're lacking is a swimming pool. And swimming pools do not add value to your house.
Sure.
So my question is, are these people that incompetent that they would send me a comp telling me my appraisal is going to have to, my property value is going to go up $11,000, when they just send me a comp for a house that's exactly like mine, only fully remodeled, for $258?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why people, is that corruption, or is that just plain incompetency?
I think it's a little bit of both.
That,
And I think it goes back to what you were saying, how they hire people.
yeah.
And if you're going to hire somebody just because he owes you or his family owes you a favor, and that person can barely count, that's the type of work you're going to get.
That's the difference.
And that's what's going on throughout Laredo.
Yes.
And it's sad, it's sad.
Yeah, because
we have a lot of talent, Laredoans, born and raised, generations from here, or just that came over, but have been here in Laredo for a very long time.
yes.
And I still see the Parks and Rec teaching people martial arts out of a video.
Well, because
Okay.
they can't afford anything.
And no, out of a video. Here, you want to learn Tai Chi? Here's a video. You guys go out there and do Tai Chi. I don't know if they're charging or not, but here's a video. Probably they're charging.
Maybe they should have done that for the tennis.
You know what I'm saying? For the
Yeah.
tennis and for swimming, here, if watch a video while you're swimming. You know what I'm saying? So, but then you look at all the people that teach, most of them are from across. And you're like, don't we have people here
Well, they
that can at least work there?
Well, that's why they hired that tennis pro for $32,000, and he's still going to charge. That the city, the Gang of Five just approved that not so long ago, and that's another reason why people get discouraged. They see, hey, like you're saying, how come this class it's based on a video, and we still have to pay, but that for tennis now, the city's paying $32,000, and you still have to pay to take lessons with him. And he's not going to teach all the classes. He's going to hire kids
To teach a class.
help teach, and he's still going to collect the money. That's the type of politics
Yeah.
that we have in Laredo. And my question is, maybe the gentleman is
Yeah.
qualified. I have no idea. I'm sure he is. But why wasn't there an RFQ process? Why wasn't there a process to say, hey, Let's find the best of the best. If we're gonna pay somebody $32,000, at least let's make a selection process that's gonna be fair and accountable.
You know, and when we came back, when I moved back here back in 2000, we had so many boxing coaches, and we planted the seeds with the city, you know. And I remember Horacio going out there and helping us out, and we found certain areas where now El Gato's teaching, the Dos Laredos is at. We looked at the rec center over in Santa Maria to start a boxing gym back there with Joe Valdez, and it took from Joe Valdez all the way up to Councilman Vera to open up that ring over there. Mike Garza came in there. We started it with Arredondo, and Mike Garza ended up opening it up over there. Of course, we had the one in Canizales, which they later on remodeled. It takes time to do this, but we have to go up there all together in unison and say, wait a minute. We're from Laredo. Don't forget about us. Okay, we love our brothers and our neighbors and our cousins from Nuevo Laredo, but wait a minute. Let's take care of our guys from Laredo first.
Yeah.
You know? And that's something that's not going on now.
Yeah, when I ran the first time, I proposed an ordinance bond that would go for election.
Sure.
As, you know, whenever there's a project that's going to cost over a certain amount, maybe $1 million.
Sure.
Even if it's by certificate of obligation bonds, those that you don't have to go for referendum to, you know. My thing would be to keep these projects that all the city council would have to work together, especially if they want to do a project that's over $1 million or $500,000, that we would have to work together and then put it on the ballot for approval by the voters. To keep these little projects from, you know, like the Lazy River, you know, it's 1.5 million, and it's been, what, 2 years since they broke ground. If we work together, I think we would see a lot more of our resources being used more accountable. You know, instead of this, what seems to be, don't worry if you don't complete the job, we'll give you an extension. You know, don't worry, we'll give you change order, we'll give you more money, and it just seems like what's going on. And right now we have a block of council members that are voting together, and someone needs to speak up. It's unfortunately that the city council member for my district is not even going to the meetings. I think he gave up, and I understand why. It's difficult when you go to a meeting, a city council meeting.
What do you mean he's not going to the meeting?
Well, he's missed, I don't know how many times. Even when, not this past one, I think the one before, he didn't even go.
Okay.
And so, and so my question is, okay, I understand, it's difficult. You're always being outvoted and so forth. I understand. I completely understand. But at least speak up, you know? Or at least do something else. That's why I'm offering what I'm offering. Because I don't need the other 5 to create a task force. I don't need to help college students. I don't need to go up for a vote and say, hey, I need help. I want to help these college students. No, I don't need to do that. I don't need them. And then when we finally do we have all the plans and everything ready to do the conversion of the rec center, these students will go up and present. And if they want to go against the college students and against the community, then they're going to look bad. We have social media to counter that. That's how we educate the people, Paul. That's how we counter.
I'm with you.
That's how we counter patron system politics. That's how we counter, what they're doing right now. When they wanted to move the election, the city election away from the general election,
Mm-hmm.
why did they want to do that? Because they wanted to increase their power. Because if there's low voter turnout, they control power. Because they have the political machines. They have the cañoneros doing what they want. And they'll get them the votes. And if it's a very low voter turnout, they win. Mm-hmm. That's why I spoke out. That's why I said, you know what? I wasn't just against it. I gave them numbers, Paul. I told them, look, if you move the election from the general election, the voter turnout in 2000, I think it was like 18,000 or 19,000. Now, when it first went on the ballot, which was 2010, I think it was 2010, we had, for city elections, 28,000. That's a 10,000 vote difference, Paul.
Sure, of course.
Those 10,000 people is what keeps patron system politics away from Laredo. And that's why they wanted to get rid of that.
And that's what I keep telling folks. If you do not go out and vote, they're going to continue doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. And I don't blame, let me put it to you this way. I don't blame the councilman that's running and he gets elected. I don't think he's going in there with, wait a minute, I'm going to control this because there's a patron system. As soon as they step inside, they realize that all these other directors that are underneath them have been there longer than he's been interested in politics. And they're going to be there afterward. So they'll come up to him and they'll, shoe shine him for whatever. And all of a sudden, you want a new project? You want it? What they need to do is get rid of all department heads. You've been here how many years? 10 years? Sorry, but we're going to pick the fourth one in line. Okay?
I don't know about that far.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Why? Because you want to get rid of all the bad habits that are in Laredo. And that's the only way you're going to clean house. You want to clean house? That's the only way.
I don't think
if
that's
not,
necessary.
But it's always there. It's been there. So you have the same people in there.
Well, with this new city manager, I see things different. I see things are improving. I see things are more transparent. And so I'm happy to see that. But I think if I were to do what I like, if I get elected, if I'm honored to get elected, and I work on this task force, and I get these college students coming up with new ideas, with new solutions to solve the problems that we're facing, and we present it to city council, and they're getting passed, it doesn't matter what pet projects the others have. People are going to see, hey, there's an improvement. And then other council members are going to be held, hey, how come you haven't done anything like that? How come you haven't done something to help education? Or how come you haven't done anything to help veterans?
This is the way I look at things. We don't have, for our Congress and our Senate, we do not have term limits. Okay?
No.
These department heads do whatever they want, anytime they want. They hire, do whatever they want under their own leisure. They threaten, they abuse, they do everything else at their own leisure. And that's the same thing.
That mostly comes either from...
Understand what I'm saying? I don't think it's somebody directing. I think it's already in there. They've been there. Some of them have been there since the 90s. They went through a bunch of different little patrones going in through there.
Well, yeah, they're still loyal to whoever put them there.
Folks, the first caller gets a lunch if you guys want to do that. Give us a call here, and the number's going to be up there in a little. But as we were touching base on that is we need that. We need that change. Maybe we have to place something in there as when you get hired, you know what, you're going to be the director for the next 5 years. We have to change. New ideas come over. It's the same stagnant thing.
Well, I mean,
same people come. You know what I mean?
Well, the city manager did make some changes like that once he started. So, I mean, I think that's good. I think that's a good idea. But at the same time, I think we need to hold city council more accountable. I think instead of just expecting our council members just to put speed bumps and and fix potholes, let's do more. Let's hold our city council to a higher standard. Let's come up with ideas instead of just a pet project of building a pool and naming it after your parents. I think we deserve better than that. I think what we need to do is what I'm proposing. Let's come up with different ideas. I know I'm sure there's way better ideas than mine. And imagine if every city council member would say, let's work on something like that. Let's work on this issue. Imagine one other city council member says, you know what, I want to create a task force to help deal with the problem with all these homeless that are under the highway. Maybe create a tent city, because a lot of students that do go out of town, they'll come back. They'll continue with their education with a master's degree here at TAMU. Mm-hmm. They've already been exposed to different things outside. Maybe they can bring those ideas back to Laredo. That's what the task force would do. I want to concentrate on improving the city. And I'm not going to be the one to solve the problems. I won't. But I'll guide our students to help us as a community. That's what we need, Paul. Because when directors see that, they're going to see, hey, we have these solutions, let's work on them.
Hello.
Yes, good afternoon. I just wanted, are you still live on the air?
Yeah, we're live in the air. What's your name?
Yeah, my name is Juan. I just want to talk to somebody about what you guys are discussing right now on the agenda.
Sure, you're live. You're live, Juan. If you want to ask a question, go right ahead.
Okay, my question is that what Mr. Mendoza is saying is correct. Everything is correct. I've been a citizen of Laredo for 45 years, and I've still seen the same thing over and over again. We were discussing the other day, politicians win, and it's the same family, the same people, the same thing that's running again and again and again. We need to get rid of this politic thing. We need to get rid of this uh, patron system, like you call it, because we need somebody that's smart, educated, to be there in office to run the city. Now, yeah, I'm a religious person. And I was reading yesterday a Proverbs that says that whoever runs the nation has to be smart.
Sure.
It can't be a person that is weak. And that's one thing that we have right now, that we have a president that wants to make it good, but he's making wrong decisions. You understand what I'm saying? If we go to immigration, separating kids from parents, that's not right. That's not God's law. And
We
it's
agree, we agree with you. That's why he fixed it real quick. That was not his law. But ask Mr. Mendoza. We both agree with you with it needs to be changed. What do you think needs to change? Do we Are we all going to go out there and start voting? Because that's the only way we can change what we have is to get people to start voting again. Don't you believe that, Mr.
well,
Mendoza? Mendoza
well,
Montes.
yeah. Well, the thing is that people are not voting because we have people like Mr. Mendoza was saying there about the Gang of Five.
Uh huh.
We're talking about people like I heard the mayor previous show that this individual was saying, well, you guys are buying properties after properties after properties. Now we have the city as a real estate now. We're
Sure.
buying properties to make parking lots. Now we have now the city's in the retail business, real estate business. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's right. We have to use that money for the community, not to buy parking lots, not to give uh, people or businesses a 5-year extension without paying taxes.
Sure.
And this is ridiculous. We're losing money. As citizens of Laredo, we're losing money. You know. Now, I mean, I got another question. I mean, we go to the county judge. We go to the county judge. We go to Webb County. You know, Webb
Hmm.
County. Let's talk about Tano. And he's a very good friend of mine. But I also disagree on what he's doing because I'm not sure, and I'm not gonna touch nobody because the Lord says not to judge or you'll be judged.
Sure.
But he's saying about cañoneros. Mm, he probably doesn't know that he had cañoneros on his campaign. Thing you're saying that he's helping the Texas Attorney General to investigate. That's the thing about it. We don't know yet. I'm not judging it. I'm just saying that if you're doing that, look at what you're doing.
Sure.
First, look at yourself at what you're doing. Then you can go and talk about it.
Yeah.
Nobody is clean. Nobody has. Nobody has. I mean, everybody sins, but we need to understand that. You want to look good. You want to look good condition, but always look at yourself first, and then start talking.
That's
That's the
awesome.
thing.
That's awesome, Mr. Montes. And since
You know.
you were our first caller, you're going to get that rib cage sandwich. We're going to give you the number up there for you go out there to the rib cage, and that's compliments of us. Okay. And
Okay,
I want
so
to thank you for calling us in there. And remember, the only way we can produce change is to get people to go out there and vote. So we need,
right.
if everybody gets 5 friends, I think we can change the face of what is there right now. Okay?
Well, the thing right now also is that we need to help the homeless people,
Of course.
and we have to do it. We have to do it because our Lord says to help out the one in need.
Sure.
So we need to help. You know, and that's the thing we have to do. We have to help the one in need because He says, if I see you help that, then I will reward you more. And
Also,
that's one thing we have to help the community to help out.
I want to thank you again for calling us. And remember the rib cage. Okay?
Thank you.
All righty. Bye bye.
Bye.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the gentleman. I mean,
Sure.
you know, he was talking about Proverbs. Proverbs 31, verse 9 says, you know, to speak up and judge righteously.
Sure.
You know, speak up for the poor and the needy. And that's what I don't see happening here. You know, that's why I decided to run. I have some, you know, some ideas, and you know, I put them out on Facebook, and you know, I've gotten a good response. I'm trying to, you know, lead a different type of campaign, a campaign that's more about ideas, about solutions, not about, you know,
Sure.
who I know or, you know, politicos or anything like that. You know, it's sad that we see, you know, that there's always people winning and making promises and they never fulfill them. And I understand that, you know, it's going to be difficult sometimes, especially with, you know, with the past city management that we had, or, you know, the other council members that are on city council. It's going to be difficult to do something.
A lot of people say, you know, the past is the past. Yes, the past is the past. They're no longer there. But the shadows and the roots are still there.
The
And
seeds are growing.
Yeah, they've
You know?
already grown.
Yeah,
They're, you know,
they're
we have to
Yeah.
we have to weed out that garden, you
Yeah,
know,
I mean-
and that's what we need to do. And they weren't there from the last administration. They were there
Prior.
10 years ago,
But that's how
20
that-
years ago. They're still there.
But that's how one can go from the city to the county back to the city. I mean, because the seeds are planted, and so you reap what you sow, and that's why they get to do what they want. And I agree with you on that point. But the question is, so how do we combat that?
Right. Well,
That's
there's,
why
there's many ways to combat that.
Well, that's
Number
why
one, you have
I'm
to
offering what
you
I'm
have to
offering.
de-weed, and that's you know what, you have to chop heads and remove people from there and put people.
But
in
what's
there.
our roundup? What's going to be our roundup to do that? You know, and it's education. That's why I'm proposing that.
We
That's why
have
it's
to-
a priority for me.
We have to hire people that are competent
Yes.
and they know what they're doing. We can't hire somebody and place him in a negotiation position if he's never been in any business.
No, I agree with you 100%.
You know, we can't have somebody that, you know, if you go into the engineering department, more likely you have to be an engineer, right? If you're a police officer, you have to have what? You have to have a peace officer's license. But if you go into some of these other areas, you're like, okay, so what's his experience?
Yeah.
You know?
And
It was so-and-so's mother-in-law because so-and-so's mother-in-law is going to get so many votes, and guess what? Now she has a job. Understand what I'm saying?
And that's the main difference, what I tell people, the main difference between Laredo and any other community. Every community is going to be, you know, do political favors, cronyism, and all that. Everybody's going to do that.
Sure.
But the difference between us and other communities is that other communities will hire someone who's educated and experienced. They know the person, so they gave them the political favor. But not in Laredo. In Laredo, they know the person, but they get the person with no qualifications, with no education, with no experience, or maybe all of the above.
Oh, yeah.
And they're put into positions where it would make an impact, and they make a bad impact because they don't know what they're doing. They may be the best, you know, the best person, the friendliest person, but they're not qualified. And that's the difference between us and other communities. We tend to we don't value education here in Laredo. We don't value, you know, experience. Here it's really who you know and not what you know.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct.
I mean, people really focus on that, you know. And in other communities, hey, at least the position that they gave to their friend, at least that person is very qualified and very educated to do a good job. Unfortunately, we don't have that same type of mentality here in Laredo.
No, and it's going to change. We need a lot of people to come out there, and people are tired of voting, and people are just all of a sudden I don't know if they just gave up, or they just don't care, but we have to somehow bring them back to vote. You know, like this gentleman that called in here. This gentleman is like talking to the gentleman filling up gas earlier today. Understand what I'm saying? Same thing. Go to every coffee shop, everybody's talking like this gentleman that just called in here. And that's sad. And some of our leaders are not seeing that. They think that, oh, we're doing everything great. Listen to the people that are listen to your citizens. Hello?
is
Hello?
an important message. Do not.
Spam call. All righty. Anything else?
I don't know, where were we? I lost my train of thought.
What? Let's touch base on this. Let's clean up Laredo, okay?
Well, my main focus, Paul, is not to clean up Laredo. I don't want to go in there because I know there's other candidates that say they're going to clean up, and they're.
I'm not talking about firing people. I'm talking about let's clean up Laredo in, let's, like you said, the homeless, okay? A tent city.
Yes.
You know, this gentleman said the same thing. This gentleman said that we're getting into the real estate business. Why is somebody calling and saying that the city of Laredo is getting into the real estate business? Why is that?
I mean, it's true. There's a lot of properties downtown that are. I'm assuming because the city's trying to, has a slow plan to try to better downtown.
Sure.
I'm assuming that's what they're doing. Is there a plan to actually do something about, once they have so many properties, or, what is the plan? I have no idea. I haven't done my research on that. So I mean, I can't say they're doing a good job or they're doing a bad job, or maybe they're doing the right thing on buying these properties. I have no idea.
I mean, yeah.
But these are some of the things that we need to look into, and if they're doing it, then we need to make sure that there's benchmarks that are being followed, or at least being met, so that we know that it's moving forward. Because a lot of times there's projects without any benchmarks, Paul, and nothing ever gets done. For example, the Veterans Museum. There should be benchmarks for that project.
Mm-hmm.
The first benchmark, they should say, you know what, let's get together, let's create at least a task force to deal with this. And the task force can be made up of different veterans, but instead they don't want that. The politician, your typical Laredo politician, goes to each one and says, if you help me, or if you vote for me when I run for this, or when I'm running for re-election, or whatever the case, that's what they do. And nothing ever gets done because they get elected and it's okay, I already got elected, so I don't need you anymore. They wash their hands. So that's why the Veterans Museum has been up in the air for I don't know how many years. It was since I first ran for the first time in 2004.
Yeah, that's when they started. That's when Hector Farias and that group, or the Laredo Veterans Coalition, were starting their movement. I think 2003, 2004, that's when they started.
Dr. Farias and with Vida and all that. It was Dr. Farias who donated that home downtown, and it's just vacant. I mean, what type of museum is it that they want? I think that's the first thing that they need to do is say, okay, what kind of museum is it that we want? What is their main priority? Is it going to be just for all wars? Are they going to have divided equally, or are they going to concentrate on the first two world wars, or they're going to concentrate on Korea, Vietnam, or Iraq? What is it that that they're going to concentrate on, or is there going to be a main exhibit, in different smaller exhibits, or which one is the veteran organization that's going to help run it? Are they going to have to create a new organization in order for them to run it? And that's the question. No one sat down and said, "Hey,
I asked them, and I've still yet to."
But they were already going to move the museum to North Central Park. That they have, that's what I don't understand.
They don't have no business. They don't have a plan.
And that's why veterans have told me, "Are you the same? Promises." And I'm like, no, because I'm not promising you a job. I'm not promising you I'm not promising any veteran organization or any veteran group, hey, if I get elected, I'm going to make sure that your group gets helped out by the city. I'm not doing that. My thing is to do the rec center and create a veteran-based organization, a 501c3, to run this rec center, and that it's going to hire veterans and their spouses. So that way that we can help. It's not going to be me helping anybody.
Sure.
I'm not the one going to be doing it. So I'm not going to make promises. I'm not going to tell this veteran, hey, the rec center, if we do that, you're going to be the director. I'm not doing any of that. I'm not making the false promises that everybody else is doing. My promise is to help the community, help the veterans. And by doing so, we're going to help the general fund. We're going to lower the tax burden that our families are faced with every day. I mean, a lot of people are complaining about property taxes.
Here's another. I'm going to change it just a little bit more. In Dallas, we used to have DISD, Dallas Independent School District. Every school will become kind of like they'll push all the desks to one side, and guess what? In this one, you were being taught jazz. They had a jazz teacher. And this one, you're being taught ballet. And they went on from like 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock at night for that area. And this happened in the majority. I can think at least 5 schools that this was going on in Dallas. I know because I used to teach in some of those back then. Okay, we don't have nothing like that here. We have wasted space, not only in our schools and in our rec centers. We have plenty of instructors that can teach volleyball and whatever, macrame or ceramics or what have you, to kids and getting them off the streets, and that's not happening here. They have the after-school program, or the kids they pay $15 and they give them Fritos and they let them run around. It's a babysitting service, and they probably get some kind of funding somewhere or another to do that little program, to pay somebody to be there watching over the kids that are not doing anything. Okay, that's what happens. We have to change that. And you have some great ideas. You have a long battle in front of you, as you know. Wishing you all luck.
Appreciate that.
And the problem is going in there, and once you get in there, to establish what you really want to do. Okay, and if God wills it and you get inside, more power to you. And hopefully you can get these projects done. I want to thank you for that.
I appreciate it.
Anything else you want to tell the people out there?
No, just that I got my master's degree in public administration.
Sure.
And that's where I came up with these ideas, on creating a task force and helping other college students. And I know how difficult it is, especially when you're trying to get your master's and you have a family. And to, my task force, I'm going to help fund it by donating $10,000 of my salary, my city council salary, to give stipends and scholarships. A student may do a small, project for us. I give them a stipend. We'll have other, college students that are going to work maybe 6 months, a year, and we'll give them a scholarship.
Sure.
Maybe to pay a semester. Because it's very expensive, Paul.
Yeah,
and so that's why I'm focusing on education, because I believe that's going to be the best. Education is going to bring in jobs. Education is going to teach our community what's going on. Education is the answer to improving our community.
Sure.
And so that's why I'm asking for people's support. Is I don't want to clean house. I don't want to go and attack the Gang of Five. I don't want to do any of that.
That's not what it's about. It's about
all I want to do is improve our community. All I want to do is fulfill my promises and make sure things get done and our veterans are helped. Our community is helped by helping them lower their tax burden. That's why my slogan is responsible growth with lower taxes. Because the city of Laredo is growing. It's always going to grow. But we're not growing the right way. We're not growing the responsible way. So our money is being wasted. That's why I decided to run, and that's why I'm offering responsible growth and lower taxes. And I do hope people will vote on the issues.
Well, the best luck. And for you guys out there, you all be safe, and thanks for watching.
Thank you, Paul.
Until next time, peace.
God bless you.